Hello, thank you. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so grateful for all the people that put this on. It was 3 days in to my life as a Clevelander, new to the state, fresh from college, fresh in a role as community organizer, that I first benefited from the kindness of a stranger. It was a snowstorm and a rear-wheel drive vehicle and a man walking up the sidewalk with a snow shovel in his hand. And I said, "There you are." And he was like, "Here I am." He was on his way to work as well and took a snow shovel so that he could help people along the way. It wasn't the last time that I benefited from the kindness of strangers right when and where I needed it. And I tell you that it doesn't take many experiences like that to become a person that wants to create kindness and goodness for others. Cleveland seems to be full of people like this, and I'm grateful that for the past 9 years, I've gotten to work from a vibrant storefront in Cleveland's St. Clair Superior neighborhood, connecting with people, doing work that I call community building, with a little bit of creativity built into it. This is the work of many, many people, a dynamic team, supporters, donors, all kinds of people that make it happen and champions for our work. Today, I'm going to talk about my experience in the neighborhood that had welcomed us 9 years ago. The St. Clair Superior neighborhood of Cleveland can be described in many ways, although some of those ways could be low income, disenfranchised, blighted, and fast traffic and maybe low literacy. Those are not the ways that are salient to me. To me, it's full of resilient people who show up, who want to connect with neighbors, who have been excited to create something in their community and be part of connecting with one another. This is the community that I have gotten to know and that has taught me many things, and I'm going to share a few of those things with you, starting with some keywords. Consistency. Consistency is a currency of trust. We found that when we first opened our quirky storefront, when we did what we said we would do, when we were open the hours we said we would be open, and when we communicated when things had to change, we built trust. Upcycle Part Shop is kind of a quirky space, and to be honest, we didn't know what we were doing at the beginning. The way it works is that donors bring materials that are used and donate them to us as secondhand supplies. Artists and teachers and makers and builders buy those supplies in our retail shop or work with us in programs and workshops with those secondhand materials. But that sometimes means it looks a little weird inside of Upcycle Part Shop, like a pile of doll heads or feathers, yarn. One time I said yes to an entire gaylord of used fireman boots. I learned what a gaylord was when that happened, and I learned that we can't take anything through that door that is that size anymore. We learn as we go, and the work of this organization has been supported by our customers so strongly. I'm happy to say that now Upcycle Part Shop is open as a retail shop 5 days a week, but this is an embarrassing picture that I wanted to share with you. Before we figured out how to make the business model work, we focused on programs and workshops, and we said what this blurry sign here said, open hours, 3rd Saturday of the month, 12 to 3. That was actually a real moment years back. And I'm sharing that to say our customers supported us. Our community came and they gently said, like, are you going to expand your hours sometime? And we did over time. But I want to say the takeaway is that that place where you post hours is your social contract with your community, with your audience. The more that you honor that, the more trust you build. And the reverse is true as well. The next word is invitation. Invitation is powerful. It's a social agreement that together you can build something stronger and better, that together you can have a better time. In a world full of loneliness, a personal invitation is powerful. Invitations can look all kinds of ways. We found success with music, popsicles in a cooler, and paintbrushes ready to be handed out when we're beautifying parks. I find that calendar, color-coded, on my phone is the kind of way I want to plan, but I've learned that not everybody does that. Not everybody needs that. An invitation can be verbal, it can be in the moment, it has to be full of intention, and together you can build something stronger. Invitation can also look like a volunteer work party where you invite neighbors and volunteers to come together because organizationally you need help, especially back then when we were open only one day a month. And our neighbors showed up, and the work we did together was so enlivening that it lit up our faces and looks like we're taking a family photo in a milestone event. Really, we were sweaty and dirty and just pausing for a second. Invitation plus consistency can sound like, hey, in the summer, on Fridays, if it's not raining, a few of us are eating our lunch and the picnic table's over there. Everyone's welcome. Invitations like that create more than the sum of their parts. And if you look closely, you'll see our JCU intern in this picture. Thanks, Jack. The final word I want to share is connect. It's a verb, and it happens throughout all of our work. It's important to connect on multiple levels. The individual, the group, and connecting the group, individuals to one another. We'll start with the individual. I want to introduce you to Marino. Marino's family moved to our neighborhood, St. Clair Superior, when he was 10 from Croatia. He is ready to talk about the decline of the neighborhood that we are in, that is his home neighborhood. He's ready to talk about that whenever you ask. But the way he behaves is that he's riding his bicycle around town, sharing produce from his garden, sharing pastries from the place down the street, checking in to see if we need anything, snow shoveling, or helping us snow shovel on those days, which might be a theme. He's generous, he's ready, and he's also competitive. And connecting with the individual, we've learned he likes to connect with us, to meet new people, to feel welcome in a space, and he likes a good challenge. That's sort of what he gets from us, and we get a lot from him. He learned that we make bottle blossoms out of plastic bottles. We use 1 or 2 plastic bottles, and we think they're awesome. He saw ours, and he said, oh, I can do better than that. He did. He used 16 bottles in this picture. Getting to know individuals, what they need, what they want, how they can fit in, and what gifts they want to share is important for connection. Next, connecting individuals to the common ground that you share. For us, that's our work. We work with high school students and grade school students, and we talk with them about Upcycle Part Shop through the lens of social entrepreneurship, with the idea and the call to action that business can support social missions, social problems, social causes. We invite them to think about themselves as people who can innovate, who care about social concerns in their world. And then we give them our materials and ask them to prototype a solution real fast. What could you make using these materials? So it works on a few levels, including that secondhand materials that look sort of familiar. Cassette tapes are wildly popular, by the way, to build with. Secondhand materials that look familiar help students and others realize that, like, oh, if I can just use the materials from the waste stream, from my own recycling bin, to create something new, where else are there assets in my life that might be untapped? How else can I think about the world around us? And lastly, you can probably tell that we connect people to one another in various ways. One way I wanted to highlight was from the spring of 2020 when our shop was closed and we didn't know what to do with ourselves. We invited our supporters to join something we created with a really industrious staff person, Cass. We created Snail Mail Cheer Club, and we invited our supporters to send in some homemade mail, and we would send it back out. We received 784 pieces of homemade mail, and we sent it out to 117 people, including 65 people who worked in healthcare and were nominated to receive special mail. I think that program, and one that followed, where a lot of our volunteers took on local senior residential buildings and made handmade mail for them to receive cheer, some of that program still continues. And I think that says a lot about trust and people's interest in connecting with one another. We live in a world in which loneliness and isolation is more of a problem and more prevalent than ever. And I think that we can all do something about it. The good news is we have what we need to start right now. We can connect more. We can talk more to strangers. We can talk to the people that we see at the grocery store and are already in our lives. Social connection is important to all of us. Regardless of how scary the world is around us, I assure you that if you look for good, you'll find it. And on the best days, you might even be it for someone else. Thank you.